Good evening and welcome everybody. Thank you for your patience with our delayed start. I see that some folks are still arriving, so just wanted to give everybody a chance to come, and I will start in just a few minutes. Good evening. Thank you all so much for coming. If you're not already sitting down, I'd like to invite you to go ahead and take a seat. There are some handouts in the back. The material, the agenda for this evening you will find in the back if you haven't gotten one already. There's a note taker back there if you're someone that likes to take notes. There is a survey that we would love for you to take. There's a flyer about our unification committee meetings coming up at both schools. So please go ahead and grab some documents. And I promise I will, in just a minute, actually get you up and move you around a little bit so that you're not sitting for 2 whole hours. And as I said, thanks for your patience with us getting started. Wanted to give a chance for whoever may have been arriving this evening to come. Welcome to our first town hall meeting around the details of the desegregation order and judgment that we received from the California State Attorney General. I am the Sausalito Marin City Superintendent, Dr. Itogo Garcia, in case you don't know who I am. We really appreciate all of you coming tonight. We're really glad you're here. Part of us unifying as a community and doing some healing that we need folks from all over our community in the room. And so all of you that made some time to come tonight, whether it was for information or for any other motivation, I'm glad you're here, and I thank you for giving us some of your very precious and valuable time. So I wanted to start tonight by reassuring folks that this is the first meeting and not the last meeting. When we agreed at our Board of Trustees meeting to have this meeting tonight, we agreed that it would be the first of a series. And we are committed to having as many meetings as we need to have so that everyone in our community is fully informed. So this is just your first opportunity and not your last. And if you know people, your friends, your neighbors, your aunts, your uncles, your grandparents, your cousins that you feel like should be here and would need this information, please let them know that they didn't miss their chance, that there'll be some upcoming opportunities in the future to receive this information And based on your feedback this evening, also which details that we might want to dig down further into. So what we're going to cover tonight is outline the complaint made by the State Attorney General, outline the judgment, outline the requirements around the desegregation advisory group that we need to form. And by your very presence in the room, I just want to invite all of you that will be something for you to participate in if you want to get more deeply involved in this process. And I hope to see as many of you there as is possible. It will outline the requirements for the comprehensive education plan that the judgment requires us to develop. Also for the scholarship and counseling program. It will also outline the requirements around interdistrict attendance that are contained in the judgment order. And for the monitor that we need to contract with, that will be the person that ensures that all of this happens and makes regular reports not only to the State Attorney General, but to our Board of Trustees and you, the community. Lastly, we'll cover some of the accountability pieces in the order, the time limits, and talk about future meetings. So, as I said, I want to invite actually all of you to stand up right now. And I'm going to play some music, and I want to invite you to move or dance or walk or roll or whatever is comfortable for you. And when the music stops, whoever you are in front of, probably not the person that you came with, I would like you to share one hope that you have for tonight and one question that you have. Everybody clear on what I'm asking? When the music starts again, we'll do 2 rounds, and then you can find a new partner. All right. I hope everybody's okay with my choice of salsa. Here we go. One question. Choose who's going to be partner A and who's going to be partner B. One hope. haven't switched partners yet, please switch partners. And once again, what's one hope you have and what's one question that you have? Go ahead and thank your partner. I'm going to play the music, and please get back to dancing and walking. And when the music stops, you can find a new partner. Don't forget to move. Don't forget to dance. Find someone new. Find someone you didn't talk to. Find somebody you don't know. switch partners already, go ahead and switch partners. One hope, one question. And this time when I start playing the music, I'm going to invite you to dance your way back to your seats. And thank your partners for sharing their time and their hopes and their questions with you. And please dance your way back to your seat or walk your way back to your seat, whether you're at a table or at a I'm so glad everybody got to move and talk and hopefully meet somebody new or talk to somebody that you don't always talk to on a regular basis. That is a really critical part of what we need to do in our community. When I say listen, you say up. Listen. Listen. Thank you. Want to invite everybody to sit down. If you just arrived, there's plenty of handouts in the back. Si requieren traducción, Miss Brisa está sentada aquí en la mesa de atrás. Hola, Miss Brisa. Ella va a proveer traducción para usted. Lo siento que no lo puedo hacer simultáneamente mientras estoy presentando en inglés hasta español, pero en el futuro me quedo cometido en tener traducción regular en nuestras juntas y gracias para su paciencia con nosotros. Muy amable. Oh, wrong way. Part of the way that I want to invite you all to participate tonight, other than talking to each other, as I'm sure people have a lot of questions. so many questions that we could probably have a 5 or 6 hour meeting, but we committed to doing a 2-hour meeting tonight, the first of many, is I want to invite you to participate electronically. So if you have a cell phone, you can send a text message to the phone number 37607. The phone number is 37607. In the body of the message, please write my first and last name, followed by the numbers 464, and then hit send. If you do that, you'll get a text message back, and then you can simply text in A or B in answer to this question. You'll have many slides this evening that invite you to participate this way. Once you have received the text message back that says that you can participate, all you need to put is A or B or write whatever you want to write, and you'll participate for the rest of the night. Just for fun, somebody text B. Yeah. See how that works? It wasn't going to change because everybody was texting A. That's why I asked someone to text B so that you can know it's going to update. On other slides, you'll be able to see it update real time, and you'll be able to see questions that people have. And to be 100% transparent, I'm going to build a frequently asked questions list from the questions that you put up here tonight so that we can make sure that we have all the answers that the community needs, and we figure out what questions aren't being asked. Oh, sorry about that. So, this is your first opportunity. Now that you have been able to ring in, you don't have to press A anymore. You can just type in a question and hit send. So maybe it's the question you talked about with a partner. Maybe it's a question you heard, but go ahead. We're still getting A's and B's, but go ahead. It should, if you type in a full question like, how do you get a scholarship? It should populate up there. There it is. What is a reasonable timeline to unify? Great question. Thank you. Want to invite everybody to just go ahead and submit at least one question. Can we do this in 1 year? Also a great question. How do I join the committee? How will Willow Creek be impacted? Also wonderful questions. What are our choices? Is there funding for WCA next year? How can I participate? Keep them coming. I see at least 50 or 60 people in the room. I know all of you have at least one question. If you don't want to participate via text message and you'd prefer to text or participate via your web browser, you can also just go to that web address if you have a different kind of web-enabled device, and you can participate that way. I just made the assumption that most of us are texting these days. All beautiful questions. Keep them coming. I'll give you a minute left. One more minute to send your question. And I just want to reassure you that after each section of material that I present, you'll have an opportunity to ask follow-up questions. And you'll have an opportunity to talk to each other some more. All great questions. Keep them coming. Got about 30 seconds left. Get those questions in there. All right, this is your window of opportunity closing right here. Thank you all so much for your questions. I do believe I have an answer to most of the questions that were put up on this board in this presentation. But as I said, you'll have other opportunities to ask and clarify. And I will take all of these questions and make an FAQ, and we'll publish it. We'll put it on the website. We'll email it and text it out so that everybody makes sure that they have these questions answered. And thanks for that clarifying of use and not us. I will actually take that opportunity to say that I had a few people call me or text me over the last few days and say, hey, Dr. Garcia, judgment doesn't have an E. So I do want to acknowledge publicly that I spent some time as a little boy in Europe. And I am wont to sometimes spell color with an O-U-R or neighbor with an O-U-R. And if you are enough of somebody who's interested in words and you do a web search, you will find that judgment with an E is indeed an acceptable spelling of the word judgment. So it wasn't an oversight, but I put it on our promotional materials and I figured I'd stick with it for this presentation, but maybe next time you'll see judgment with no E. So one of the frameworks that we use and that I want to invite us into this evening is a framework called the Courageous Conversation Framework. And what it says is when we have conversations about race and systemic oppression, that most of the time folks enter the conversation one of these four places. So if you find yourself entering the conversation tonight from an intellectual or thinking space, I just want to affirm that that's a good and right place to enter the conversation. It's a valid place to enter the conversation. Many people will enter this conversation from that place. If you find yourself entering the conversation tonight from a believing or moral place, that is also a place that is good and right for you and a place that a lot of people will enter this conversation. Those morals, those beliefs, they may come from your religion, they may come from your home, wherever they come from, it's what you bring and what you're showing up with, and I want to let you know that we embrace them and there's space for them tonight. Many people this conversation from a feeling or an emotional place, and that is also good and right and normal. It's normal for folks to feel emotional when having these kind of conversations. And a lot of folks will enter this conversation from a social acting space. I want to do something. I don't just want to talk. I want to make a movement. And that is also good and right and normal. And if that is where you find yourself, I want to just affirm and validate that that is exactly where you should be. The purpose of the Courageous Conversation Compass and what I'm inviting all of us to do as a process is to sustain and deepen the conversation that we are having with each other. And so the idea is to be able to really move to the middle and understand people. If you find yourself in a moral space and you're talking to somebody that's finding themselves in a doing space, to sustain and deepen a conversation and meet in the middle. If you find yourself in an intellectual space and you're talking to somebody that's feeling emotional, to remain in conversation. The way that we're going to be able to heal and move forward together is by talking, is by building, is by planning. And so you will see me refer to this framework throughout this process. And so I just want to invite all of you to keep this in mind as we go through the presentation tonight and as we talk to one another. That are entering this space and this doing and this taking action space, I just want to invite you to consider that one of the most courageous and important actions that we can all take together is talking to each other. And so sometimes talking doesn't feel like doing something, but you're all here doing something really important, and you all started this evening doing something really important. And it is in talking to each other that we will be able to move forward together, that we will be able to answer one of those questions, look at how we can heal from things that have happened in the past. And so thank you all for being here and engaging in this conversation. I'm sorry, I'm this clicker. I'm going to get it. So one of the things about adult learning and information that's really interesting is that all of our brains are really wired for us to remain comfortable. The problem is, when we remain comfortable, we don't learn very much. And sometimes we can get information that is really alarming. It gets us into an overwhelming or a difficult or a terrifying place. And that's also not very helpful. There's very little learning that happens. People shut down, we walk away, we push back. We might even get some damage. So the sweet spot in getting new information, and changing old ways of doing things, is remaining in the zone of discomfort. That's where lots of learning takes place. It's interesting, it's challenging, it's a little scary, but not too scary. And so I want to invite us all to do something right now, which is, if you're not sitting with your arms folded already, I want to invite all of you to fold your arms. And go ahead and look down and see which arm is on the top and which arm is on the bottom. What you may have never realized in your life is that since you learned to cross your arms as a tiny baby, you have crossed your arms the same way every time for the rest of your life. And so what I'm going to invite you to do right now is unfold your arms and put the other arm on top and the other arm on the bottom. How does it feel? Shout it out. Weird. I can't. How's it feel over here? Fine for you? Little awkward? For those of you who are like, it's nothing, are you maybe ambidextrous? You are. So I have found with about 6 people out of probably 7 people that I've done this with in the last 2 years, that ambidextrous people find no difference. So lucky you. Most of you probably, it felt a little weird though, right? So go ahead, unfold your arms, take them out. Let's get that weird feeling out, that awkward feeling, that discomfort feeling out. And now I'm going to invite you to fold your hands. Pay attention to which thumb is on the top, which forefingers on the top. Much like your hands, much like your arms, when you learned to fold your hands when you were a little baby, you fold your hands the same way every time your whole life. With the same thumb on the top and the same forefinger on the top. So I'm going to invite you to unfold your fingers and fold them with the other thumb and forefinger on the top. It feels awkward. It feels uncomfortable. I want you to take a minute and notice where you feel the discomfort in your body. Is it in your hands? Is it in your arm? Is it in your neck? For me, it's often here in my solar plexus. You can go ahead and shake out your hands. Tonight, wherever you experienced that discomfort just now, and what I did was actually physiologically give you an amygdala hijack. I turned on your fight, flight, or freeze response by asking you to do something uncomfortable that's out of the ordinary. When you feel that tonight, that's an opportunity to grow. Whatever comes up in this presentation, whatever we talk about, whatever your friends and neighbors talk about, I'm going to invite you to lean into that feeling tonight, because that's an opportunity for us to grow. Now, thank you for that. Couple other things, and then we'll get into the meat of the evening. This is a theoretical framework by Margaret Wheatley. And she says most organizations, when they look at change, focus on what's technical or what's visible, what lies above the green line. And those things are patterns and structures and processes. But those aren't the things that really matter. Those aren't the things that lead to change and transformation. What she suggests is the things that matter are the things you can't see. The things that lie below the green line. And those things are information, relationships, and identity. And so one of my great goals tonight is to provide you with information to support our relationship and our identity building as the 94965. And so I just wanted to offer that as another thing for you to hold tonight as we go through our information. We have an opportunity to create a new vision for ourselves, for our community, for our schools, and most importantly, for our students. Now, this is an offering from me, but we want to create it collaboratively with all of you. And until we do, no new vision really is going to matter. But we need a vision for healing and uniting under a diverse and shared identity that all of us in this room can be proud of. We want to define ourselves and tell our own story and control our own narrative. For too long, folks from everywhere outside of Sausalito and Marin City have been telling us what's been going on around here. And it's time for us to tell our own story. We want to celebrate our differences, create culturally and linguistically competent communities, support equity, and we want to do that by collaborative decision making and collaborating with you, the entire community. What might that mean for us in the future? We want to figure it out with you. We want to decide with you. But it could mean that we have a world-class program that stimulates deep learning and ignites individual passions, that we have a school that provides career pathways, college readiness programs, science, technology, engineering, art, and mathematics center, culturally and linguistically sustaining arts integration, project-based learning, learning from valuing different perspectives, and making sure that all of our kids graduate as global citizens. We want to empower our families to work alongside of our staff in support of student needs. Strong schools make strong communities. And most importantly, we want a place that we can all feel safe in who we are, in what we believe, and in who we become. We want an engaging educational environment that supports students and families to overcome systemic barriers and that prepares them for college and career, and most importantly for life. Everybody in our community. Again, this is just an offering. I'm sure it'll change when we get your input, but it's something that I wanted to offer. So in the spirit of that, I want to ask you a question. We can stay the Sausalito Marin City School District. We don't have to. We have an opportunity to forge a new vision and to forge a new name. And I wanted to get a little feedback from you tonight, if we did that, on if any of these names are even interesting to you. And don't worry, on the survey that's out there, you have a write-in space for your own name. Oh, thank you so much for asking that. If you do any Googling, you'll find information on this. But Joseph James was a gentleman from New Jersey who moved here to Marin City in the 40s to work in the shipyards. And he was an African-American man who worked on making Boilermakers. And in the 40s, you could not be part of the union if you were black. And so he was an amazing singer and an amazing actor. He was part of the original cast of Porgy and Bess. But it was hard to be an entertainer when the war broke out. He was such a good singer that every time they christened a ship, every time they christened a Liberty ship out of this shipyard, they had him sing the national anthem. But he couldn't be part of the union. And he decided that that wasn't fair. And so Joseph James sued the Boilermakers Union. And he said that anybody should, doing comparable work, have the right to be a part of the union. And one Thurgood Marshall came and argued that case in Marin County Superior Court. It went all the way to the California Supreme Court, and Thurgood Marshall won that case. As you all probably know, you might not know who Joseph James is or was, but I'm sure you know who Thurgood Marshall was. And that's part of the history of our community. Another part of the history of our community, Jack Kerouac, famous American author, wrote a well-respected book called On the Road. And in the book On the Road, he wrote about a community that he called Mill City. He lived right here when he wrote part of that book. And Mill City was a combination of the name Mill Valley and Marin City. And he said at the time, it was the most joyous place in the country that he saw black and white people voluntarily living together. And to me, some of these names reflect some of that history. Miwok obviously is the indigenous land, indigenous people whose land we are standing on. They were the Miwok tribe. Richardson School District is for Mr. Richardson, who our bay is named after, who was the only Anglo land grantee by the Spanish Crown. Liberty Ship is obviously for the name of the ships that were produced in our shipyard right here. And then we have our current name and an abbreviated name. And thank you so much for giving your opinion on what might be a new name. I also want a little feedback on a logo. Obviously, we change our name, these logo options would change, but as of right now, would love you to ring back and which one you might like best. Well, it looks like we have a pretty clear winner. I won't belabor that point. So I promise I'm going to get to information right away, but I want to do one last thing. We practice mindfulness every day at Bayside MLK, and we are a mindful school district. And neuroscience has shown us that the number one tool that we have at our disposal to help us regulate our emotions is our breath. But not just any kind of breathing. Breathing in a ratio. Inhaling for a count of 8, exhaling for a count of 4. That's the number one tool we have to regulate our emotion. And so there may be some times tonight where I ask you to breathe. If you have a diminished lung capacity for any reason, you can inhale for a count of 6 and exhale for a count of 3. But I want to invite everyone right now to take one big inhale for a count of 8 and one big exhale for a count of 4. All right, let's get to it. Thank you. So, just in case you don't know who the Attorney General is, he's the chief legal advisor to the state's chief law enforcement officer. And in our great state, the Attorney General serves as the head of the State Department of Justice with responsibilities similar to the United States Department of Justice. What did the complaint filed against our district say? It said we knowingly and intentionally maintained and exacerbated existing racial segregation in Sausalito and Marin City. It said we intentionally established a segregated school, provided discretionary funding to support segregation, cut programs at the segregated school that led to the loss of dedicated, qualified teachers. It also said that our students were unprepared academically and socially for high school, that we failed to take steps to alleviate the segregation, and that we deprived BMLK students of an equal educational opportunity and an integrated education. If you really want to delve into the details of the complaint, we have a copy there for you in the back. You're welcome to take a long, deep read, and if we need to spend some more time on that at a different meeting, I'm happy to. But right now, those are the main details of the complaint. Basically, in a nutshell, the judgment says that we cannot violate any of the laws that were on that prior slide in the future or during the term of the judgment. It also says that the judgment will last for 5 years if we meet with all of the orders laid out in the judgment. Again, and I'm going to go through the rest of the details in this judgment, but if you really want to read word for word, line for line, there's a copy. I welcome you to read it. Get your highlighter out, get your underliners out, and come back with any questions that you don't get answered in the next hour or so. The judgment also requires that we form a desegregation advisory group, that it is formed by November the 6th of this year. That desegregation advisory group will make recommendations to our school district and to me as the superintendent on all programs, all education programs, how to reduce racial segregation, how to improve education programs, and must meet at least twice per year. It also says that we must contract with a qualified third-party expert or experts on racial segregation, and that expert will facilitate and organize the desegregation advisory group. That person must be approved by the monitor or the attorney general, and I'll get into the monitor a little bit later in the presentation. That person must conduct a needs assessment. They must design and implement a program to attract diverse students, and that the desegregation advisory group must report out within 45 days of meeting to the monitor, to the attorney general, and to all of us. That segregation advisory group must consist of students, parents of students, public school administrators. Shout out to David and Emily for being here tonight. Thank you both. Public school teachers, shout out to all of our teachers that are in the room tonight. Thank you for being here. Community organizations, the Marin County Office of Education, the Housing Authority, Health and Human Services, the City of Sausalito, and the Marin City Community Services District. And shout out to all of you that represent these groups. I will be looking for your continued participation. So what will the desegregation advisory group do? Review and input policies, procedures, practices, and any changes relating to the education program. Review and provide input into our student demographic data. Review and provide input of the impact of any program on student demographic data within the district, and specifically on the race and ethnicity of students in any program. Review and input community feedback regarding education programs in our district. Review and provide input relating to health and social services and other support programs available to students. Review and input relating to other activities and events within the district that may affect racial segregation. That's the main focus of this group of people. I hope many of you will be there. So take a minute if you're at a table. Talk to the people that are there. If you're sitting in our chairs, turn to an elbow partner. If you don't have an elbow partner, maybe find one. Talk to the people that are there. What questions might you still have about the desegregation advisory group? As you generate questions, you can go ahead and upload them right there. I'll give you about 2 minutes, and then I'll get back to giving you some more information. I'm going to give you about 30 more seconds. If you haven't answered yet, go ahead and get any questions you may still have up there. Wonderful questions, wonderful offerings, wonderful recommendations. I believe a lot of these questions will be answered as we move forward in this presentation, but thank you for asking them. This is your window of opportunity closing. When I say listen, you say up. Listen. Listen. Thank you. If I could have your attention back here. On top of the Desegregation Advisory Group, we are also ordered to create a community-oriented comprehensive education program by February the 4th. We must conduct an assessment of community needs. Who is the community? It includes all areas within the district containing residences and any additional areas the district sees fit. The assessment must include, but not be limited to, parents of children under 8 years old residing in the district, community organizations, our collective bargaining partners, SDTA and CSEA, that stands for Sausalito District Teachers Association, and Julia, CSEA is? Thank you, sir. California School Employees Association. Also, parent representatives of BLK, chosen by parents at BLK, representatives from TAM Union High School District, the Marin County Office of Education, and the Marin Community College District. I invite all of you to be part of the Desegregation Advisory Group to make recommendations about who else should be on this list. This is just what's in the judgment. This is the floor, not the ceiling. So what does it have to do? It must be designed to attract students from throughout all of our district of all backgrounds. It must incorporate community resources. It must make sure that we have single subject credentialed teachers in English, math, and science for 7th and 8th grade students. I don't know who put that recommendation about focusing on English, math, and science, but you had some good ESP. The district attorney agreed. It must create a mission and vision statement. Must provide long-term funding for teacher retention and recruitment and for program leadership. It must ensure positive interaction amongst student groups and discipline policies that encourage community building and communication, and discipline policies that are equitable, unambiguous, and that limit exclusionary discipline. They also must ensure community and family engagement, program marketing, professional learning for all staff on working with diverse classrooms and encouraging positive intergroup interactions. And it must include eligibility in the program for special funding, including grants, to support all of this work. I know some of you got a lot of finance questions. I promise they're coming. This plan must be presented at an open board meeting by February the 14th, 2020. Happy Valentine's Day, y'all. It must be distributed to you, the public, 7 days before the open board meeting. The Attorney General's office must be notified and receive a copy of the plan 7 days before the open board meeting. We must implement this approved plan no later than July 1st, 2020. It's pretty soon. The district also must promote our comprehensive plan via a promotional campaign. We might even hire a PR firm. See why I'm asking you about names and logos and whatnot? We must continue the implementation of this plan until the termination of the judgment. Somebody asked this question. Y'all are really smart people. You ask great questions. Yes, the unification plan and our local control accountability plan that we have to develop this year for a new 3-year plan can serve as the comprehensive plan. As I said in a meeting earlier today, it is my great goal to make sure that all of these processes start becoming one process. But I'm going to need all of your help to make that happen. We must continue with implementation, until the termination of the judgment. And if our plan or our campaign fails to attract enough students, the Attorney General may take further action against the Sausalito Marin City School District. So, again, I want to invite you to talk to your friends and neighbors, talk to the folks at the table. What other questions might you have about the comprehensive plan? As you generate your questions, please go ahead and upload them right here. Of course, I can take off my coat. Might keep it on. So one thing I want to say with some of the questions that I see popping up here is that all of you in the room get to be a part of the process if you want to be. You get to be a part of the process by being on the Desegregation Advisory Group. You get to be a part of the process by being on the unification work groups. You get to be a part of the process by participating here and asking these amazingly wonderful questions. And you have my commitment to work with all of you to create the answers to these questions. A lot of the answers to these questions are also forthcoming in the presentation. But real quick, that's true, and yes, it is. And as a matter of fact, I'm going to tease a slide that's coming later. But if we do this, the desegregation order goes away. This is your window of opportunity closing. Any last questions? Get them up there. Get them up there. Hit send. We also have to start a counseling and scholarship program. The counseling and scholarship program defines two classes of people that are eligible to receive scholarship money and counseling services. Those two classes of people are defined as beneficiaries and special beneficiaries. Beneficiaries are any student that attended Bayside MLK for 4 or more consecutive months, beginning August 1st, 2013, and coming all the way to June 13th, 2019. So I saw a question up here that said something about kids attending Willow Creek being eligible for any of these benefits. And the answer is this. If you're a family that was at Bayside MLK for 4 months consecutively in any of these years and then moved over to Willow Creek, yes, your child is eligible. It also defines a special beneficiary, who is any student that attended Bayside MLK for 4 or more consecutive months from August the 1st, 2014 to June 13th, 2019, and was in the 6th, 7th, or 8th grade. Doesn't matter where you go to school now. You could go to Tam High, you could go to College of Marin, you could go to UC Berkeley, doesn't matter. You are eligible. We are responsible for continuously providing both the scholarship and the academic and career counseling program for 10 years, starting February 4th, 2020, to all beneficiaries. Well, this is a guarantee to support people through college and career for the next 10 years. Anybody eligible, any beneficiary, any special beneficiary. The counseling program must provide comprehensive academic and or career counseling whether or not the beneficiary is enrolled in any trade school or educational institution. Meaning, people who were negatively impacted by this situation who may not currently have their lives together are still eligible for our help and support. We could talk about that. The program will advise and assist beneficiaries with long-term academic and career goals, resume composition and job applications, higher education applications, placement in vocational programs and the workforce, and also with help identifying other grants, scholarships, and programs to provide financial or other support necessary to provide access to continuing higher education or skilled workforce employment. Beneficiaries can participate at no cost. It's free. Beneficiaries will receive at least 20 hours. Special beneficiaries, 40 hours of service from the counseling program. Again, this is the floor, not the ceiling. If we get together as a community and decide that we want a greater ceiling than this, we have the right to do that. As the Deputy Attorney General told me, we wanted to give you an outline. You all get to color in the picture. We are responsible for notifying people who are eligible for this program. We will provide assistance to the counseling program. We can either create it ourselves or contract with a third party. No need to reinvent the wheel. There's a lot of folks doing this work in our community. I've already had some conversations with at least 3 different organizations to identify and notify beneficiaries. We are responsible for identifying and notifying all beneficiaries within 1 year of establishing the counseling program of all the benefits that they're entitled to. We must identify and notify all beneficiaries that have not responded to our outreach efforts Yes, we have to track people down. That is what we are ordered to do. And any beneficiary that has not enrolled will receive an additional notification upon graduation from high school. Remember, this is for 10 years. We have to track a lot of kids and make sure that we are supporting a lot of kids to achieve their educational and career goals. Some of you may be very interested in this slide because it's not just counseling, it's scholarships. That date already passed. If you were at our last board meeting, you will know that we formed a scholarship committee and that we created a fund already. It's there. We met this deadline. Much like the counseling program, it's got to operate for 10 years. It must cooperate with the counseling program. And every year on January 1st and on July 1st, we must make sure that there is a minimum of $50,000 available in the scholarship fund for the next 6 months. The scholarship is named directly as a remedy for operating a segregated school and a racially discriminatory educational program. So, how will we give it out? The amount that people are eligible for, that beneficiaries or special beneficiaries are eligible for, is equivalent to community college tuition at a California community college. Yes, community college is now pretty much free in our state. But whatever the cost that the state is covering is the amount of scholarship that we need to offer. Beneficiaries, special beneficiaries don't need to be enrolled full-time. They don't need to be employed. They don't need to have completed an academic program. And they can be any age to receive their allocation. This can be used for any type of college or trade program. All right, so if somebody wants to be an HVAC technician or a plumber or electrician or some other high-paying skilled trades position that we have a tremendous need for in our country, they can get pretty much the coverage. Most of those programs happen in less than 2 years. They can get it paid for. Any of those things that I just mentioned will earn you a salary of $125,000 a year as soon as you graduate. It can also be used for any type of college program. In order to continue to receive their allocation, they must be enrolled at least part-time. We can decline to allocate the dollars to any beneficiary if all of the following things are true. Not just one, but all. If they've already received a scholarship from us. If they did not complete the program that they received the allocation for. If when they didn't complete the program, they didn't refund the tuition. And if none of that happened because they were called to active military duty. All four of these things need to be true to decline an allocation. And none of the above can have occurred due to a natural disaster, a serious health condition, or the need to care for a spouse, a child, a parent, a domestic partner with a serious health condition. To apply, beneficiaries must submit the following: academic transcripts, documents to confirm their status as a beneficiary, and a document to confirm that the beneficiary is eligible for enrollment in a program that meets the requirements of the scholarship. The scholarship may directly pay tuition for the beneficiary. Special beneficiaries are limited to an equivalent of 4 semesters or 6 full-time quarters. Beneficiaries are limited to 2 semesters or 3 quarters of full-time enrollment. The amount can be prorated across semesters, quarters, or terms if not enrolled full-time in a particular program. And the prorated share of the tuition paid by other public sources or scholarships, it may be prorated by a share of the tuition paid by other public sources or other scholarships other than our scholarship program. Go ahead, turn and talk to your partners or the folks at your table. If you have any other questions about our counseling or scholarship program, want to invite you to upload them right here. Our scholarship committee is the folks who is going to supervise the allocation of the scholarships. The annual amount will depend based on the program. This is for any student that attended Bayside MLK for 4 months. We got a lot of work to do on this. Right now, this has to come out of our district budget. Luckily, there's money allocated for that. As I was just saying outside, one of the things that this requires is for us to have the best community engagement and relationships and follow-up with our students and families of any school, district in the land. And it's a commitment, really, that all schools should make and a relationship that all schools should have. Again, hard to project the total cost. The AG is going to help with that. We cannot just ignore the AG, but that was funny. That's a good question. We're working very hard to make sure that we do, and we can. But I want to invite all of you to help us make sure that that's happening. Not exactly. It can be used for other things. Many children who get their tuition paid by the state for community college still have trouble with housing in our county, still have trouble paying for books in our county, still have trouble paying for food in our county. It's just tuition in the judgment. Again, that is the floor, not the ceiling. And it's an equivalent amount. Again, right now, really hard to ballpark the costs until we identify the number of students that this is and project out each year how many people might make requests. But I don't think the Attorney General has projected it out at more than $50,000 per 6 months. That's why we have to have $50,000 January and July 1st. Yes. Again, if that's what we decide as a community, they could. This is your window of opportunity closing. Go ahead and compose. Go ahead and hit send. These are all great questions. Thank you so much for your engagement in the program thus far. It is 7:30, and even though we started at 15 minutes late, I might even have a chance to get us all out of here by 8 p.m., so thank you. Amen. Thank you. So one of the other pieces in the order is sustained summer support. So it says prior to the comprehensive plan, the district will not reduce summer support to any third party to below levels of summer 2017 or summer 2018, but that also does not require us to support any new third parties with summer support. Significant number of people in the room attended programs here during the summer. What this says is we have to keep those programs. We can't stop them. We have to keep them at funding levels that were present for the last 2 years to support our kids. Many students from Willow Creek and Bayside MLK attend summer programs here. It also says we don't have to contract with anybody new. There are some stipulations around interdistrict attendance. It says that we will not renew any interdistrict attendance or transfer agreement with any other district that treats our in-district students differently based on the place where they live in our district. It's a nice way of referring to the same thing twice. We cannot renew our interdistrict transfer agreement with Mill Valley. Traditionally, maybe somebody in the room knows the answer, but at least for the last, 20-odd years, folks that live on the other side of the hill right here, that's actually inside of our district, but they've been permitted to go to school in Mill Valley. We cannot renew that. We also can't make any new agreements that have that kind of differentiation based on where you live. Go ahead, turn to a partner, turn to the folks at your table. If you have any other questions about summer programs or inter-district attendance, go ahead and load them up.
Good night.
Taking audio separate from this camera. Can I see how it works? Oh, it's kind of far.
No, I'm zooming in and out.
Oh, you're zooming in and out. Can I still get your information though, just in case for like, what's your name?
Mark?
And then
And my last name?
your last name, yeah.
T-O-N-G.
T-O-N-G. And then however you want me to contact you.
You reach my email, Mark.
Okay.
M-A-R-K.
All wonderful questions. This is your window of opportunity closing. Compose, hit send. Looks like that's about it. So, how will we be held accountable for doing all these things? Many of you have asked some version of this question on different slides thus far. We have to meet with one or more of the following. We have to enroll students from all backgrounds from inside of our district boundaries. That enrollment will be measured on October 1st, January 15th, and May the 1st. Remember, it's one or more of the following. Our criteria is 20% or more of the Sausalito Marin City School District students in K3 or K8 come from Sausalito, the Hill, or the Marina. That Hill. This one, yeah, it's Marin City. It's Marin City. But we still need to enroll kids from there. We got a lot of kids that live on our hill that don't go to our district schools. 30% or more of Sausalito Marin City kids, K3 or K8, come from Sausalito, the Hill, or the Marina, or are out-of-district students. Some of you had some questions about out-of-district students. Accepting out-of-district students is one way that we can comply with the desegregation order. Or we can have 20 or more students enrolled in Sausalito Marin City operated schools that are Sausalito, Hill, or Marina residents, or 40 or more students enrolled that are Sausalito, Hill, or Marina residents. Again, we need to meet one of these to comply with the Phase 1 goal. Phase 2 goal. We must meet with one or more of the following. Pretty much the same, enrollment of kids from all backgrounds from inside of our district. Measured on October the 1st, January the 15th, and May the 1st. Phase 2, however, requires that 40% or more of our students enrolled K8 come from Sausalito, the Hill, or the Marina, or are out-of-district students, and 20% come from Sausalito, the Hill, or the Marina, if we're meeting the 40% with out-of-district students. Or 35% or more of students come from SHM, K8, or are out-of-district students, and 25%, meaning 10% out-of-district, 25% from inside our borders, or just 30% or more of our kids come from SHM, or that we have 60 or more students enrolled in the Sausalito Marin City School District operated schools, K8, are Sausalito, Hill, or Marina residents. So this is basically what we have to do in 5 years to meet the requirements and to be held, meet the accountability requirements of the judgment. These are some ways that we can get out from under this judgment. Again, if we meet this in 5 years, we can request a written report from our monitor. Upon receipt of that report, or after 30 days, we can petition the court to terminate the judgment. If we don't meet the judgment, it can be extended an additional 5 years until 2030. If our Phase 1 goal is not met after 5 years, we must, after 450 days, relocate K4 to the Nevada Street campus. Relocate the charter school if there is not enough space for both schools. Report why Phase 1 goal was not met. Cease discretionary funding to non-district schools until Phase 1 goal is met. If after 10 years the Phase 1 goal is met, but the Phase 2 goal is not met, within 180 days, ooh, sorry about that. I thought I did well catching typos. My apologies. Shall create a report as to why. If after 10 years the phase 1 goal is not met, we shall create another comprehensive plan. And if after 15 years the phase 2 goal is not met, we shall create another comprehensive plan. Go ahead, talk to your partner, talk to the folks at your table. If you have any questions, I want to invite you to upload them here. Really quickly, there is no requirement for students currently enrolled in WCA to enroll in BMLK, but it would sure help us get to where we need to go. They do require a change. They require a significant change. It might not sound like 20 or 40 or 60 kids is a lot, but right now that's not what's happening. Willow Creek right now is considered an independent charter school. Yes, we can and we should hear from our kids. It is my great hope that as much of all of you interested folks are in the room, that our students really pave the way, our kids in our community really pave the way and help create a vision forward. Their voice, their needs is critically important. That's a great question. It's a really great question. It's an order, it's an agreement that has existed. So those of you that haven't seen various newspaper articles published about me or heard me talk, I grew up around here. And I can tell you that this has been true at least since the early 80s. Kids from that part of our district always went to Tam Valley School. As far as I'm concerned, I'm 45. So much like everything else contained in this judgment, even though this judgment focuses on the last 6 years, this is layered over decades of history in our community. And I hope that all of you will engage in a deep and sustained conversation about the reasons behind some of these things. Again, really hoping that all of you help us figure this out. Don't know, but I will get the answer. Good question. I think and I hope that everybody is here to figure out how to get it right the first time. That's my goal as a superintendent. I know that's the goal of both communities. I know that's the goal of our Board of Trustees. I know that's the goal of the Willow Creek Board. We got to get it right the first time. We should never get to extension 1 or extension 2 or extension 3. I think that's BMLK. It will be a plan. Yes, we do. I hope many of you will help us do that. We've been talking about it a little bit, actually. As an independent charter school, WCA is not a district-operated school. This is your window of opportunity. Go ahead and compose. Go ahead and hit send. I'm committed to anything that I don't have answered by the end of this presentation that will make an FAQ, and you will have answers. So, many of you have had questions about this person. Who this person will be, what they will do, what it will cost. I saw a lot of those questions. This judgment will be overseen by a qualified third-party monitor. That monitor will have access to information and documents to ensure compliance with the judgment. The cost of the monitor will be paid by the district. Somebody asked a question during the AG press conference, and Deputy AG Lindsay said, and I quote, "These are unfunded mandates." So many of you have asked the question, well, who's going to pay for all this? Sausalito Marin City School District is required under this judgment to pay for all this, but that doesn't mean that we cannot all together go and seek out grants and scholarships and philanthropy and raise money so that we can create the top performing school district, diverse school district in all of Marin County. But if no one else is going to pay for it, we have to pay for it. The Attorney General must approve the monitor. There can be no unreasonable costs or fees for the monitor, and that is subject to Attorney General approval. So I saw that question up there too from a couple of people like, well, who's going to make sure it's not we're not paying somebody $500,000 to be the monitor. That's not going to happen. It will be reasonable costs. It will be market costs for this kind of consultation, which honestly, you want a good monitor. It's not going to be super duper cheap, but they're not going to let costs get out of control for us. And a lot of times, you kind of get what you pay for. The monitor will report directly to the AG. District actions will be required to be reviewed and approved by the monitor to ensure compliance with the judgment. We may take reasonable and typical actions in response to emergency situations immediately without evaluation. So if something comes up that we really have to take care of, we can without asking for review and permission. The monitor can make a post hoc evaluation of what we did, but they will make an evaluation and report on any and everything we do. The monitor must evaluate any changes of staff, certification requirements, any reduction in certificated or classified staffing, any acquisition, transfer, disposal, or encumbrance of real property. Any of the following with a net cost likely to exceed $50,000. Permanent changes of a physical facility, repair of a physical facility. Any of the following with a net cost likely to exceed $100,000. Grant or agreement to provide services, facilities, or property to any student not enrolled in a district-operated school, or any action that would result in anything on the last two slides. Go ahead, talk to the folks at your table, talk to a partner. Any questions that you may still have about the monitor, please go ahead and load them up. So really quickly, our district council and the attorney general have to meet and confer on the monitor. We have to meet with the monitor. The monitor has to agree to be our monitor, and then we have to create a contract, and then the district attorney has to approve that monitor and that contract. The commitment of the monitor is for the duration of the judgment. Great question. As the judgment stands, there actually is only Attorney General input on the monitor. It's not a full-time job. The monitor does not add to our overhead. Yes, part of the monitor is that they have to be an expert in cultural competency and racial desegregation. We want to invite you to our unification committee meetings and our desegregation advisory groups and help us create a pathway and a plan so that we can set aside the past and move forward. That's a super interesting question. I don't know the answer to it. I will do some investigating. As I see questions starting to slow, and we are running close on time, this again is your window of opportunity, closing, to upload and hit send on any questions. Let's talk about it. I gotta say, I don't want to make any assumptions, but everybody I've talked to from the Willow Creek community has expressed to me a commitment in figuring out how to unify as one school. So, we are also accountable for some time limits. Somebody asked this question, what happens if we don't do it? Are we stuck? Any time limit in the judgment can be extended by mutual agreement in writing by the AG in our district or by showing good cause by order of the court. So I and many members of our Board of Trustees and the Willow Creek Board are currently breaking our necks to make sure that we stay on this timeline. But if we can't, we can go back and we can show good cause and we might be able to change them. I don't want to. I want us to stick to these timelines. It's a lot of work, but it's great work. It's work we need to do. We'll be ahead of the game for many of our state and federal requirements when we get this work done. Failure to complete any provision in the judgment in a timely fashion may result in the AG imposing the following: no discretionary funds to a non-district operated school, no agreements to provide facilities, services, or property to in-district students attending non-district schools. If SMCSD fails to comply with the judgment for more than 180 days, the Attorney General may direct the district to allocate or expend any unassigned funding not part of a 5% economic reserve or otherwise restricted funds to complete the tardy provision of this. That says judgment there. I'm sorry, you can't see it. We can modify this in the future. We may jointly stipulate changes, modifications, amendments to the judgment, or terminate the judgment effective after a joint motion filed and granted by the court. This can occur at any time, particularly if we merge with another school district, or if our schools merge, or if our schools close, or if we create new schools. We can file, the judgment can be terminated. The court, San Francisco Superior Court, and the Attorney General will have continuing jurisdiction and oversight that we are in compliance with the judgment. The AG is committed to working collaboratively with the monitor and our district to resolve any violations of the judgment prior to formal dispute resolution. We're going to remain in conversation. We hope not to end up back in court. However, the court does retain jurisdiction and enforcement of the judgment until the judgment is terminated. It does so for orders, directions, or interpretations necessary to carry out the judgment, for modifications of injunctions or relief, for enforcement, or for punishment for violations. The judgment was effective immediately on the date it was filed, August the 8th, 2019. The judgment does not alter any powers of the State Attorney General, which they may use to monitor our district compliance with the judgment. And the injunctions in this judgment apply to all current and future trustees, successors, there's another typo, sorry, directors, employees, agents, independent contractors, partners, associates, and any of their present and future representatives. So it applies to everybody in the room. It applies to anybody who will be in the room. Anybody who's thinking about being in the room, it applies. Go ahead, turn and talk to your partners, talk to your table. If you have any questions. Oh, wait a minute, hold on. That is almost the end of this presentation. I'm going to get us out of here very close to 8 o'clock. So if you have any questions about that section or any questions overall from the presentation, please go ahead and load them up. It will take questions now. However, I apologize. This was a small oversight. This type of poll will require you can't text in. It will require you to open the browser on your phone on Safari and go to this address. My apologies. new slide. You should be able to text in now. Thank you for your patience. A little small technical difficulty. I appreciate your grace and patience. Almost got to the end. And then 415-299-9016. That's my phone number. Superintendent. It's also the real citizen. Yeah, looking forward to hearing from you. Thank you. I appreciate the positive feedback and all these questions. Again, I want to invite all of you into the process to answer these questions. The simple answer is no, but that requires a lot more detail and explanation. And so I want to invite all of you back. I want to invite all of you to the Unification Committee meetings. I want to invite all of you to continue to be engaged as you were tonight. Can you all give yourselves a big round of applause? You were a great crowd. Thank you. Oh. Would you be interested in attending a follow-up meeting? As I said, this was your first, not your last opportunity. I will commit to taking all of these questions that you have so diligently uploaded for me and creating an FAQ, and we'll have another meeting. It won't be in the too far distant future. If I need to have a meeting once a month until everybody knows what's going on and has a clear idea, that's what I will do. You have my word. Lastly, please put your name and your email address if you are willing to be part of our desegregation advisory group. And I will make sure that you get a personal invite. Yes. That you're interested in, you can find out more and decide. Yes, I'm not gonna come and stalk you if you decide you don't want to be a part of it, but I hope you will be. It is right now. As I said, it is my great hope that all of these processes turn into one wonderful, amazing, transformative process for our community. Right now, they're different. The Desegregation Advisory Group is what's ordered by the judgment. I do want to point out, since people have asked questions about unification, that both of our boards, prior to this judgment, passed resolutions to explore unification before anybody made us. And I think that's really important. And so I want to invite all of you to participate in any way, shape, or form in either group, because it will all inform how we move forward together. And I hope that all of you participating in that process allows us to create a world-class school here in the 94965. And thank you for so many of you that are willing to be a part of our desegregation advisory group. You can always email me, igarcia@smcsd.org. If you didn't want to just put your name up here publicly, I understand. We still want you to be a part of one of these efforts. And we started our meeting at 6:15. It is 8:07. We have some community information around some resources over here with Dr. Clark around mental health, around suicide prevention. Please go ahead and grab a survey. We would love your feedback on our survey. It's really important. Thank you all for your willingness and engagement. I hope to see you all next time.
Good sell.